Hello, I'm Dr. Sam Hancock of the Emerald Planet and Emerald Planet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for those 1,000 best practices, the technology, services, and products that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we have a planet of 9 billion people by 2038 and possibly 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century, how are we going to be able to take care of all these people on planet Earth? And that's what Emerald Planet's all about. We come to you looking at the solutions, the best practices from around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet. Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet. We're making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And seeing the long-term impacts of climate change. We're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us.
Looking at the world of Rotary and the environment seems to be a perfect match because Rotary does span the globe, 35,000 different clubs, now almost 1.4 million members, and virtually 200 countries and territories around planet Earth. But we have someone who's actually taking that global reach, taking it local, and then putting it back out to the Earth. This is John G. Mathers. He's the coordinator for the Rotary Climate Action Team Network, RCAT, and a host of other things. He's really been very, very active in Rotary International. But John, welcome, and we're going to be talking about bringing communities together to address the climate crisis, and you've been a leader in that. Thank you for being with us on the Emerald Planet TV.
Pleased to be here.
Say, talking about the Rotary Climate Action Team, and we're going to talk about the ESRAG a little later, but tell us about that and why the Rotary Club of San Francisco.
Well, the Rotary Club of San Francisco, the second oldest Rotary Club in the world, out of 35,000, has been very active in promoting where we ought to go and what we ought to deal with. And good, bad, or indifferent, we are in California, and we tend to be pushing the envelope when it comes to the environment and addressing climate change. And so that's why when I saw what Alan Anderson was doing in Minnesota and read the article about him in the Rotarian, I said, this is fabulous. We need to do something like that, but we need to do it where clubs can talk to each other. So that was the impetus behind setting up the network of Rotary clubs.
Now, looking at the Rotary Climate Action Team and teams, because it's in the plural, why the network, which you are the coordinator for that network? So why have a network?
Well, it's wonderful if a group in a particular club gets enthusiastic about doing a project or a series of projects, something with their community or in their business or whatever. But there are people all over the planet that are doing things in Rotary clubs. Wouldn't it be great if they had a way of sharing with each other what they're doing and best practices and understanding the differences that can be made? So that's what I want to understand what other people are doing. And if someone's doing it better than I am, terrific. Or if we can do it together.
That's the whole thing of the Emerald Planet, is that we're actually featuring the solutions, as we call it, the best practices. And that's why I think it's really critical that we work together as far as Emerald Planet, International Foundation, Emerald Planet TV, and the work that you're doing with Rotary Climate Action Teams. Now, looking at this cloud bomb going over here, where did that term come from? And why are we now calling a cloud
it's actually
severe storms a bomb?
It's actually called a rain bomb because of the amount of heat in the ocean. It's pulling up more moisture, and it's pulling it out of the ground as well. I mean, dramatically out of the ground. That's why you have droughts. But then what happens is it concentrates it, and it's concentrating it in things that just simply drop 4 or 6 or 8 inches of water in a few minutes. This is a still picture, but when you actually see it happen, it is scary. I mean, it really looks like a mushroom cloud, but it's inverse. It's all collected in and then dropped down in large quantities. It's something that was very, very rare 20 years ago, is now becoming very common.
The interesting thing about that, John, I've put 3 rain gardens in my backyard here in Washington, D.C., along with 7 new trees, and put it in on a Friday. Sunday night, we had 9 inches of rain in less than 2 hours. Those rain gardens and the new trees grabbed all of that water and sequestered it in the ground. It was absolutely amazing. Been having floods in my garage. Not a drop of water went into the garage out of this, but this is what we've been seeing here now over the last couple of years. Going to the glaciers and also the warming climate, how is that impacting things on Mother Earth, John?
Well, I think most people understand this at this point, but I don't know. I fly. For many years, I did business all over the world, and I would fly back from Europe regularly. And every year over the last 30 years, I'd go over Greenland and see more and more water on the surface of Greenland, more and more lakes, more and more of the glaciers that were disappearing. And this is just, this is what's happening. They're disappearing faster than we can address, which means that we are going to have an increase in the height of water worldwide, which is going to create floods. They're already looking at $100 billion just to protect downtown Manhattan. It's phenomenal. We haven't really come up with a solution. We are really into the idea that if it isn't a crisis, we're not going to try and fix it.
Yeah, when I was in Bhutan a few years ago, I was meeting with the Minister of the Environment, and he says if we don't address climate change and do it now, he says we may not be here by 2050. We won't have to worry about my country of Bhutan. We'll be somewhere else. And that's happening across the South Pacific and many other countries. But what are we looking at here? The dynamics of people and internally displaced people. IDPs are happening more and more now because of climate than even terrorist activities.
Yeah, this is the saddest part, is that the people that are the most vulnerable. Rotary has been serving people all over the world, the people that are in the most need. And those people are the ones that are most impacted by climate change. Just look at what's happening in Bangladesh. Look at what's happening in Jakarta. Look at the areas that are sinking or being flooded. You're talking about perhaps up to 1 billion people having to move somewhere in order to address their need for climate change. Okay, so now what do you do with food? What do you do with clean water? You now have salt in all of the areas in southern Bangladesh where, because the oceans have come in and taken over the aquifer, so they can't plant enough food. What do you do in order to address that? It's a huge problem that we have to be addressed, not just like you did. You put in plants, you put in new soil, you made it rich, the soil rich, so that it could gather the water. You can't go and do industrial farming and expect that it's going to feed all these people. There's just too many other problems associated with it. It has to be really thought through.
Yeah, we have to rejuvenate the soil, that is for sure. And so we talk about water quality. We really have to talk about soil, air, and
Yep.
water quality as a package. And we need to address it that way. And that's how I look at these gardens and the 7 new trees put in, taking the backyard and turning it into an urban forest. Well, we need to be doing urban forestry and rural forestry all over the globe. But this is what we're fighting against, John. What are we seeing here, and how do we have to get away from this absolutely yesterday, not tomorrow?
Well, what's interesting to me is the fossil fuel industry that supports our world today, the coal industry that is producing all of this effluent, is being subsidized to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars, whereas renewables are this last year 51 billion. So if we don't do something to eliminate the carbon in the atmosphere, it's going to overwhelm our systems, and we're going to have more weather issues. We're going to have more droughts. We're going to have more of all the things that we now see in our environment. So anything we can do to eliminate carbon, that we can do to eliminate the fossil fuels, that we can move towards renewables, electric, wind, all of which is happening, but we need to have it happen a whole lot faster than it is.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. Looking at this, we need to have this happening yesterday,
Yep.
not just tomorrow, and we have to move forward because this is what we're looking at. If you look across northern Africa, northern China, many other places, even in a country as rich and fertile as Australia, is having these scenes that we're looking at right before us. So, how do we need to look at the world through the eyes of the RCATs? And what do we need to be doing so that we don't have to have this happening and expanding the deserts across all of the earth?
Well, so what you're doing by planting trees is wonderful. One of our RCATs in Kampala, in Uganda, has planted 70,000 trees in the last 6 months. What they're doing is they're recapturing and preventing the desert from moving, which is wonderful. Oh, now you have an image there of the fire in Paradise in Northern California. We also have a group in CC, one of our clubs there, that has put together something to address the inequalities in our environment, so that systemic racism, so systemic issues of access to empowerment, access to water, all of that can be addressed at the same time that you're addressing climate change. And they've gone out to all of the other cities in Italy to promote the Assisi Manifesto. You have a picture here of
getting
feed
away
lots.
from industrial farming. How is that going to help, John?
Well, you're talking about in two different kinds of industrial farming. If you're looking at feedlots, what you're looking at is the whole issue of meat production and what it takes to, in the way of water and land, to produce the meat, and the impact of methane on our environment. Methane is much more dangerous than carbon. And what you have now is people all over the world who are looking at, if I can have meat in my diet on a regular basis, it shows that I'm coming up in the world.
Right.
Rather than looking at what's best for the planet, looking at what's best for us. And
I'm
here
going to
you
leave
have,
this up, John. We have only about 20 seconds. What do we see for the growth of RCATs over the next 5, 10, or 15 years? We have to be quick.
we need to network. We need to work as one, not separately. We need to find ways to connect every possible way we can.
That's fantastic. This is John G. Mathers of the RCATs as we create the Emerald Planet.
Thank you.